Good morning, everybody. Where are you? It's different. Look, yeah, same house, Rapid Shamash. Just we have the Beis Hamikdash in the background. I thought it was this week's parsha. I thought it was a nice piece. Throw in this week's parsha. So this week's parsha, Pekudei. Again, we're counting gold. We're finishing the Mishkan. We learned all the stuff a couple weeks ago. Last week, what's going on here? So the Pri Tzaddik has a very interesting piece that kind of compares and talks about the different names of the Mishkan. We have Mishkan, and we have Kodesh. Kodesh. It's called the Kodesh, it's called the Mishkan. It goes back and forth a bit. There's a Kli Yakar also that talks about that it goes back with Avoda and Malacha. If you have time to look at that as well, it's also a good thing to understand that. But there's Mishkan and then there's Kodesh. And there's two aspects that the Pri Tzaddik is throwing here. There's an aspect of Torah and an aspect of Tefillah. So thinking about an Ohel, a Mishkan, temporary, that's a way of a Jewish person. A way of a Jewish person is to live life that the world's temporary. Olam Hazeh is temporary. Don't get caught up in things of this world too much. You got to go to work, obviously, but pasmech tochal, eating bread, salt, sleeping on the ground, ohalim, Yaakov, Yoshev ohalim. That's the way of the Torah, is to be ohalim, and that's Mishkan, that's temporary, that's Mishkan. Then there's Kodesh. Kodesh is something more permanent. So the Jewish people go to the Eretz Yisrael, and it's not so easy now to be immersed in Torah anymore. It's very difficult. This person has to now have a vineyard. This guy has the olive area, olive presses and stuff like that. So there's an aspect of pointing yourself towards a permanent place. And this is what Pri Tzaddik talks about Kodesh. There's Torah, which is temporary, but there's also an aspect of Tefillah. As David HaMelech wants to have a pace, kavua, makom kavua. Think about it. There's a makom kavua for davening, but not really for Torah. You can learn anywhere, theoretically, but there's a certain inyan to daven in a makom kavua, because the Hashem should be permanent. Even though sometimes we're living in places where we have to work all the time, we're very busy, but tefillah should be a permanent place in your mind, in your heart, and that should be a permanence thing. And go to Eretz Yisrael, it's not Mishkan anymore. There's a permanence to it, and to fight against that, to have this feeling of permanence, is to have a place that's set for tefillah. So the Pri Tzaddik throws a very interesting piece where he talks about Yonadav ben Rachav. So everyone says, oh, Yonadav. I know that guy. That was the guy who helped Amnon, giving advice what to do with his sister Tamar. Really horrible guy. Yes, that's Yonadav. Then there's a guy, Yehonadav, who sometimes is called Yonadav as well. Yonadav, or Yehonadav ben Rachav. Who was this guy? Who was he? So, he was a person who lived the time before. He lived the time in Melachim. He's one of the people he wants to get rid of Achav. He's one of the advisors to the king, to the Yehuda king. And he has this interesting minhag, not to drink wine and not to be in houses. They live in tents with the Canaanite people. So Yisro's descendants, the Canaan, they live not in cities, they live in these tents. And this is the minhag of this guy, Yehonadav ben Rachav. Okay, they live in tents. In Yirmiyah, Lamed Aleph, so until this point, I Yonadav, living in tents, fantastic. Let's move on to this piece. And I was learning Sunday, I glanced over this guy Rachav, looked him up. Yonadav, okay, fine. But then this morning I had a little bit of time to look into this a little bit more, and there's a story, there's a nevuah of Yirmiyah. So Yirmiyahu, he gets a call from Hashem, a nevuah from Hashem, to bring these people from Yerushalayim. So the descendants of Yonadav, they're actually living in houses now in Yerushalayim. And he brings them to the Beis Hamikdash. And he asks these people, have some wine. And the descendants of Yonadav ben Rachav say no to Yirmiyahu the Navi. They say, no, we can't drink wine. Why not? Well, we have a minhag from our great-great-grandfather, Yonadav, who says we're not supposed to drink wine. We're living in Yerushalayim in houses because there's armies there. It's right before the Churban. It's not safe to be outside Yerushalayim. So we're in Yerushalayim, but we're not going to break the minhag of drinking from wine. And Hashem says to Yirmiyah, use this as a lesson for the Jewish people. Because these regular people, drinking wine, there's nothing wrong with drinking wine, just as a minhag, a simple minhag of their father, grandfather, Yehonadav, they don't drink wine. But look at the Jewish people. They have more than minhagim from, not just people, from Hashem. I gave them mitzvos, I gave them Torah, I gave them things to do, things not to do, and they'll listen to me. Use this as a lesson for the Jewish people. Just like Yehonadav, the people, are listening to this minhag not to drink wine, Kal v'chomer, the regular people should definitely listen to the mitzvos that I gave them. And there's a haftacha that Yirmiyah Hashem gives to Yirmiyah. Tell these people, there will never be a generation without these descendants. The people of Yehonadav ben Rachav will always be around. There won't be any lapse. There will always be existing, these people, people of the Rechavim. And essentially, you can look up Wikipedia. The Rechavim, they're mentioned a few times. Yamim. So these people live on. The Rechavim live on. And I thought that was an interesting Mida Kneged Mida. That the Pirkei Tzach doesn't say this. I kind of throw this together. Maybe it makes sense a bit. Is that by getting away the riches of the world, by not concentrating on the permanence of this world, you get to stay in the world longer. We know that too much money, too much anger takes someone out of the world. So maybe the way against that is to not be permanently in the world, to kind of think of life temporarily, to think that I can bring kedusha anywhere I am, that as long as, and if I need to turn to Hashem, there's a place to turn to, the Beis Hamikdash, but I shouldn't have to come to that. If I surround myself with Torah, then I can have the Shekhinah and the kedusha anywhere. And this, I think, is the haftacha to the people of Yehonadav. If you want your family to live on, you want to have permanence forever, nitzchias, is to surround yourself with Torah, surround yourself with tefillah, and to take yourself out of the permanence of the trappings, I guess, of Olam Hazeh. Shabbat Shalom.